welcome back to another episode of the Psychopedia podcast. I'm your co-host, Hank Sinatra, here with my psycho, micro, mega co-host,
Investigator Slater.
Investigator Aaron Slater.
What? That's my middle name.
I know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why did you say that, Bennett?
'Cause I'm on one.
Are you high? What's happening?
I'm on a lot of cough medicine.
Something's wrong with you today.
No, I planned that. That was like, I practiced it so many times.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I listened to an episode today for Unhinged, which we're doing later.
Mhm.
And you said your middle name in that one for some reason.
Isn't that such a random middle name?
Aaron?
Yeah.
No.
I just think it's so random.
Oh, it's so crazy.
My mother said
Who's
that
ever heard of
she belonged to a pool club in Brooklyn when she was pregnant with my twin sister and I.
Yeah.
And there was a little girl by the pool, and her name was Brooke Erin.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And so my mom was like, well, that's it.
If I was a girl.
Okay.
If I was a girl. No, that's Nas. If I ruled the world.
Yep.
Ew.
You are high today.
I would want my name to be Brooke.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You like that name? My dad picked it, actually, technically.
Yeah.
My mom picked my twin sister's first name. My dad picked my first name.
I see your father totally differently since he shot that kid with a rubber band.
His stock went up, no?
It quadrupled, split, and then nonupled.
Yeah, I know.
Nonupled.
It's really actually very good when things like that happen for me, too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it turns out
Yeah.
you are kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then it makes me less annoyed when he's not cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, when he plays piano, which I know he played for you a little bit also, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
So like a few
No, pretty good. He's good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Maybe even excellent. By the way, now, you said something the day you saw my father shoot the flame off of a match with a rubber band many times over. You said that it makes you more inclined to believe me when I make these bold statements about things that I am capable of doing.
To an extent, yes.
Okay. I'd love to know what that extent is.
To an extent. I don't know if you've even made any outlandish claims knowing what I know about your father's skill shooting out the light.
I said I have no fear of heights. I said I would
I believe that.
dive off of a super high diving board, like zero issue. I said I could push over a cow.
That I don't, obviously, is insane. But you know that cow tipping's not a real thing?
No, I actually did not know that.
It is not. It's never, like, literally nobody has ever tipped a cow over.
What?
It's a thing that they go to try to do, but it never happens. Like, there's not one story of someone actually tipping a cow over.
Okay, well, good. Leave the cows alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know how hard it must be for them to get up?
Oh, come on.
They die. I mean, there's no way for them to get up. I'm just kidding.
I don't know if I can do this episode now. The thought of a dead cow, it's too much.
I think you can. Real quick, we love, honor, and cherish every one of you.
We do.
I believe it's time to commit.
Okay.
Go head on over to patreon.com/psychopedia and join our little cult. It is what it is. I'm calling it what it is. I tiptoe around calling it a cult because I don't want to be seen as like a cult leader. Yeah, but I've come to terms with the fact that over there, not in real life, but on patreon.com/psychopedia, we are cult leaders because it's fanatics over there who we love and love us.
No, can I disagree with you respectfully?
No, you can on another episode maybe do that. Right now I'm in the zone.
Okay.
And I want to finish it. We love, honor, and cherish every one of you. You, listening and watching right now. It's time to commit. We're committed to you. Commit to us. Maybe. If you don't want to, don't. But,
well, that is why you're not a cult leader.
But yeah, because I don't have enough confidence to be.
If you don't want to, you don't have to.
But you should, because we're committed to you. Okay? You get a lot of stuff over there.
Yeah, you
do. A lot of stuff. Bonus episodes out the ass. I mean, interaction up the wazoo. Messaging, chat, book club, Zooms. Like, it's popping off over there.
It is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm spending a lot more time over there too. Have you noticed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'll say. Before we move on, I just want to read off a couple of Patreon names. I love them. They're always so funny. And when they're normal, they're great too. I love them all. Shout out to Rat Queen.
Nice.
Yeah. Ew.
That was a rat noise.
I know. I know exactly what the hell it was. Rachel Dion, Brittany Schaefer, Tanks of Titillation, Jessica Batista, Vicious White Substance, which is just
wow,
incredible. And Slater wants her pink fucking throne tank. Slater wants her fucking pink throne tank. And thank you, but no.
Yes.
Don't do this. Don't use, listen, this is like when you block somebody and then they like on every platform, then they message you on fucking Venmo by sending you a thing and telling you to call them. Like, don't do this to me.
Do it. And thank you for having my back to the person who did it.
Is that throne going to help your back?
It might. I'm not great in this chair.
I think you're going to be worse in the throne.
I think I need a booster seat.
I think you need a booster seat as well.
Okay.
Okay. Without any further...
There's one more ado.
Oh, there's more ado?
If you'd like to watch us, head on over to YouTube.
Yeah.
And find Psychopedia Podcast on there. Subscribe, please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you.
And maybe consider doing your part and leaving a heart.
Do your part, leave a heart. It's fun to watch us. I know you have to do laundry, but put one AirPod in and put it up and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And you could see my manicure today, which is, I think, super cool.
It is.
Thank you. I get inspired when
I'm so confused.
When I go to the nail salon. Come over to YouTube and find out.
Okay.
Okay, you ready for the case?
I am so ready for the case.
No more ados?
I have, without any further ado, I would love to hear about this week's case, which I know nothing about. Also, if this is your first time listening, welcome. Somebody said that meant something to them.
Good, as it should. That's why it should. That's why you say it.
If it's your first time here, welcome. We're thrilled to have you. If it's your 100th time here, welcome back, freak. And without any further ado, let's get into this week's case.
All right, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine, after 50 years of navigating life's trials, hand in hand with your soulmate, the very fabric of your marriage disintegrates in a heart-stopping instant. From the moment you met at 19, you and your partner built a dream life together, raising 3 beloved children before embracing the joy of 7 grandchildren. Your shared journey spanned continents and created a vivid tapestry of family vacations, birthdays, and holidays, woven with threads of deep intimacy, daily rituals, and the enduring strength forged through the pain of loss. Through all of life's ups and downs, you had the unwavering support and boundless love of the person you chose to walk beside you for half a century.
Long time.
Absolutely. Until one seemingly ordinary morning in the year 2020, when the phone rings, shattering the tranquility of your home, of your life.
Wait.
Because on the other line are the police. Their voice is steady but laced with urgency, requesting that you come down to the station. A wave of dread grips you as you make your way over there, each step weighed down by the unspoken terror of uncertainty. At the station, you are led to a stark, oppressive room where the walls seem to close in on you. Mm-hmm. The uniformed officers with their faces etched with a blend of compassion and solemnity, which I can't pronounce, say it.
Solemnity.
Thank you. Sit you down and...
Salami.
Fuck off. Sit you down and lock eyes with you, displaying a bizarre intensity that sends your heart racing. And as they begin to speak, their words unravel a nightmare that feels too monstrous to be real, too unlikely to be anything more than a cruel illusion. Because what they are telling you breaks the eternal bond you thought was unbreakable and desecrates the sanctity of your 50-year marriage in the most vile way imaginable.
Oh my God.
According to the police, your husband, your lifelong partner, the person you trusted above all, has been systematically drugging you into a comatose state for nearly a decade.
Oh my God.
And allowing strangers into your home to rape you on camera. Not just that, but he would often excitedly participate in the nightmarish abuse as well.
What the fuck?
This recent story has profoundly and understandably gripped France, where it took place, while capturing international headlines all over the globe with its shocking details. Brace yourself, as you are about to hear the full, chilling truth of one of the most appalling and gut-wrenching cases of depravity ever reported.
My stomach hurts a little bit.
This is the horrific case of Dominique Pelicot, a man who transformed the sacred marital bedroom into a torture chamber. But even more than this being a case about this vile piece of shit, Dominique, it is more about Gisèle, his soon-to-be ex-wife, who endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of the man she trusted most, and whose unrelenting courage and fierce quest for justice is currently making big, necessary waves in France's legal system.
So from in her, like, golden years?
Absolutely. Yep. 60s. I know. It's as bad as you think. Probably worse.
Okay.
You gonna be okay? We'll see. Let's get into it regardless.
Yeah, sure.
Gisèle and Dominique Pelicot met in 1971 at the age of 19 and fell instantly in love.
1971 was 50 years ago.
I know.
That's the worst part so far.
They married 2 years later in Indre and went on to have 2 sons and a daughter, David, Florian, and Caroline. For most of their adult lives, Gisèle and Dominique raised their family in the eastern suburbs of Paris, specifically in the suburban housing estate just 9 miles from the heart of Paris in the Val-de-Marne department. Dominique dabbled in several different professions until becoming a computer equipment salesman, and Gisèle built a career as a business manager at Électricité de France. After their children, what?
Bon travail.
Oui, oui.
Good job.
Oh, thank you. Merci. After their children had grown up and gifted them with 7 grandchildren, Gisèle and Dominique, married at this point for 37 years, chose to leave the bustling life of Paris for a more tranquil setting. In March 2013, at the age of 60, they relocated to a charming rented house with a swimming pool in the quaint town of Mazan, home to just 6,000 residents. Unfortunately, what was meant to be a serene and fulfilling chapter of their golden years soon took a dark turn as Gisèle began to grapple with a series of troubling, undiagnosed health issues with a cascade of alarming symptoms, including hair loss, a dramatic weight drop of around 17 pounds, increasing difficulty with mobility, and, most distressingly, severe memory lapses. Mornings would often greet her with the unsettling realization that she had no recollection of the previous night's events or even how she ended up in bed. It was as though she were functioning under a hypnotic trance, physically present but mentally absent.
Mm-hmm.
Her children would recount shared experiences like watching a movie together or having lengthy phone conversations, only for Gisèle to have no memory of them the following day.
Oh, he was like letting her live while she was drugged?
Yeah, what do you mean letting her live?
I assumed that he would drug her and the crime would start, not that she'd be on the phone and hanging out with the family watching movies.
That's how it happened, but it had lasting effects.
Oh, I got you.
Being drugged daily for a decade? Lingering effects.
Daily?
Yes.
Okay, so now she's obviously having effects outside of the acute administration.
That's correct.
Okay.
One particularly jarring incident occurred when Gisèle awoke to find that she had a new haircut with no memory of when or how it had taken place. Upon contacting her hairdresser, she learned that she visited the salon the previous day, requested the cut, engaged in conversation with her stylist, paid for the service, and then drove home, none of which she could recall.
Yeah.
Gisèle feared she might be facing early onset Alzheimer's disease or even a brain tumor.
Imagine if that's why he fucking waited so long.
Oh my God, I never thought about that. I don't think so, because we're going to learn about him a little bit.
Okay.
However, despite undergoing CT scans and consultations with numerous specialists, no definitive diagnosis emerged, leaving Gisèle's vast array of debilitating symptoms shrouded in mystery and escalating in both intensity and frequency. Doctors often dismissed her fatigue and memory issues as mere exhaustion from caring for her grandchildren, or just a simple side effect of getting older.
That's my imagery, by the way, Brad.
What did I say? That
escalating in intensity and frequency? That's my imagery.
But is that a line from Huckabees? Escalating in intensity and frequency?
No, that's one that I use a lot.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
It's my imagery, Brad.
I'm sorry. I'll get you a gecko. It'll be fine.
Okay, very good.
But it wasn't just signs of cognitive impairment that she was suffering, because in addition to her troubling memory issues, Gisèle also began to experience significant gynecological problems as well.
That is so fucked.
Oh, just you wait. Testing would later reveal that Gisèle had been unknowingly afflicted with 4 sexually transmitted diseases that were causing severe inflammation of her cervix, which can get serious. That can be a precursor for cervical cancer. What is truly astonishing to me is that not one single doctor recognized the signs of sexual trauma here. None considered a deeper investigation into Gisèle's symptoms or thought to alert law enforcement about the unusual combination of sexual symptoms and memory loss, especially given that these issues had persisted for nearly a decade with no sign of improvement.
Yeah.
This is such a, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like
epidemic?
I was going to say, it's just such a shame. It's so bad on the medical industry, for lack of a better way of saying it.
You hear about this shit a lot.
Yeah, but if this happens a lot, which it does, then medical professionals should be trained to understand and recognize the symptoms.
No, symptoms of what?
Sexual trauma.
No, I'm talking about male doctors seeing female patients just being like, hey, you probably just got an upset stomach.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're being emotional, you're being sensitive. That for sure is happening. But what I'm saying here is
recognizing
male or female. I don't know who she saw.
Yeah.
I just know she saw many specialists over the course of a decade with 4 sexually transmitted diseases. She's telling her doctors, I have one partner for 50 years.
Yeah.
There were so many red flags. It's so upsetting.
Oh, yeah.
Amidst this...
No blood tests either, ever? Like...
Right. The sexually transmitted diseases did not pop...
No, I meant for the drugs that he was giving her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking as well. Were there no toxicology reports done? You weren't testing her blood? I mean, they did CT scans. It's not like they were blatantly ignoring her or pushing it under the rug, but I mean, they were doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, at most.
Right. So amidst this medical oversight, which is what I believe it to be, at this point, Gisèle felt nothing but tremendous gratitude for her husband as she navigated the terrifying and confusing maze of doctor's appointments with specialists. Dominique offered his unwavering spousal support and remained exceptionally attentive both at home and during her medical visits. He held her hand, reassured her that he'd always be there to take care of her, and wiped her tears. He often brought Gisèle glasses of wine or beer during their quiet evenings together to provide a comforting presence amidst all this uncertainty.
Yeah, with the drug in it.
And when one of the beers he served oddly glowed with a mint green, radioactive-esque hue, he discarded it and claimed that he'd fetched Gisèle a new one. In retrospect, obviously with hindsight being 20/20, Gisèle now realizes that Dominique was experimenting with various drugs by putting copious amounts into her drinks and food. And that night when he tried serving her like a glowing green beer, that's what was going on.
It's like an IPA or something.
Despite outwardly presenting himself as a loving, supportive, and deeply caring husband, Dominique later confessed that in his 60s, he began feeling increasingly detached from his family responsibilities and increasingly isolated as time passed.
He was expressing that, or she noticed that?
He expressed this years later.
Okay.
This growing sense of detachment and isolation was exacerbated by the significant life changes he was undergoing. A psychiatrist who evaluated Dominique following his eventual arrest suggested that the combination of relocating to a new town and retiring from his job may have, as that psychiatrist put it, weakened the defensive barriers in his psyche. And then this psychological weakening, this doctor proposed, could have played a crucial role in the erosion of his mental state, contributing to his eventual descent into darkness.
Yeah.
At this stage in his life, Dominique's, which by the way, this is not an excuse. This is just perhaps a little explanation of what may have been going on mentally.
Yeah.
At this stage in his life, Dominique's sexual desires had become increasingly intense and specialized, leading him to request more from Gisèle than she was comfortable providing. While he persistently sought to introduce swinging into their relationship, Gisèle perceived their sex life as normal and healthy, despite her refusal to engage in certain acts he suddenly desired, like swinging. However, she wasn't entirely unaware that Dominique was beginning to display signs of less than acceptable perversions, as well as just kind of expanding upon his sexual interests.
Yep.
Pop quiz. What happened in 2020 that provided a glimpse into Dominique's evolving perversions?
A glimpse, okay.
A, Gisèle walked in on Dominique masturbating to torture porn. Dominique was caught filming up the skirts of women in a supermarket.
Violation.
C, Gisèle discovered a shoebox of trophies in Dominique's closet, which included women's underwear, a vial of medication, and a fake acrylic fingernail.
So she walked in on him masturbating to torture porn. What happened with the filming upskirt? She caught him?
He was caught.
He was caught. Or the
shoebox of trophies.
Shoebox of trophies. I'm going to say B.
Yes. Correct.
But you know why?
Why?
In that book, Out of the Shadows, he talks about the different levels of sexual addicts.
Mm-hmm.
And that like peeping Tom / voyeur, I'm sorry,
yes.
peeping Tom / flasher is like a level above even like...
Well, secret voyeurism is as well. These are all precursors.
That's peeping Tom.
Yeah.
Even like that's above watching torture porn.
Yeah.
Because it makes it, it's affecting other people now.
Right.
And and you like that probably.
And then you're going to have to push past that to get the same high.
Yeah.
In 2020, a supermarket security guard in Carpentras, which is a village near their home, caught Dominique filming up the skirts of women as they shopped, which is an act referred to as upskirting. When questioned, Dominique claimed that he acted on uncontrollable impulses. And at the time, Gisèle chose to believe and forgive her husband and interpreted the incident as an isolated lapse in what she believed was an otherwise stable, loving, healthy 50-year marriage.
Yeah.
However, this incident marked the beginning of the unraveling of Dominique's carefully constructed facade and went on to reveal to Gisèle, her children, and the entire shaken world the full extent of his abominable behavior. I cannot impress upon you enough what is happening with this case right now in the world.
Really?
This is hot off the press, this case. I should have said this in the beginning, maybe. Understandably, and we are for sure going to explore why, this is blowing up the internet. It's having laws being potentially changed, at least reconsidered in France.
Yeah.
It is making headlines everywhere.
Yeah, we're so fucking reactive.
Oh, instead of proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But before we plunge into the grisly details of exactly what happened and how it happened and when it happened and with whom it happened, let's first expose the true nature of this wolf in sheep's clothing, Dominique Pelicot. Much of what we know in terms of Dominique's upbringing has been provided by his older brother, who wishes to remain anonymous. According to his brother, Dominique, who was the youngest of the family, was adored and pampered by their parents. They were raised in an idyllic setting on the Château d'Ablay estate, home to a 19th century castle in the Centre-Val des Lauriers countryside, where their father was in charge of electrical maintenance.
Wow.
A little props? Or
by the way, if you say abominable again, I'm not gonna. It's a snowman. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. It's not.
It's also a real word.
It is a snowman, though.
It's also a real word.
Sure, it is.
With about 200 acres of land as their playground, Dominique and his brother went frog fishing, built cabins, and rode sheep as if they were in a rodeo, fully embracing the freedom and adventure of their expansive rural surroundings.
French countryside?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
However, unfortunately, not everything remained picture perfect for Dominique, as according to information he provided decades later at one of his pretrial hearings, when Dominique was just 9 years old, he was raped by a male nurse after being admitted to the hospital with a head injury.
Terrible.
As indicated by Dominique at that hearing, quote, "I was on a drip for several days. I lived through hell. He raped me in every way possible." Now, Dominique's brother recalled the incident and the fact that Dominique was indeed reported being inappropriately touched by a male nurse at the time, though he never said anything about rape at the time. Furthermore, according to Dominique's brother, their mother made inquiries at the time and found that there weren't any male nurses on duty the night that Dominique claims to have been assaulted. And while it remains unclear as to whether or not this horrific incident actually occurred, His brother remains convinced that Dominique only resurfaced this incident and either embellished upon it or completely fabricated it in order to victimize himself and minimize his responsibility in the horrific crimes against his wife.
Totally plausible.
It's plausible. I will say, though, that a 9-year-old not having the vocabulary or the strength to actually fully come out and indicate that he was raped is not uncommon.
No, of course
So the fact
not.
that he didn't talk about it, I don't think it can be used as a mechanism of proof that it didn't happen.
But he did say something.
He did. But remember, so Dominique's brother is saying, I don't think it really happened. And my mother did a little investigation and there weren't even any male nurses. By the way, there could be male aides. This is a little boy saying it was a nurse. It could have been a doctor. It could have been a maintenance worker. It could have been a nurse who popped in. So I'm not in his corner one way or the other. I'm just, speaking on behalf of just survivors in general.
Mm-hmm.
Dominique's daughter, Caroline, also does not believe that her father was sexually assaulted as a child and said that her father is someone who, quote unquote, lies a lot. She recently wrote a book titled, and this is a translation from French to English, "And I Stopped Calling You Papa." She now refers to Dominique as her genitor, like her progenitor, her procreator.
Do you have the French title?
Yes, it is. What do you think it is?
Et j'arrête t'appelle papa.
Oh my God!
It's good?
Oh my God! Yeah, you're the man. It's Et j'essaie de t'appeler papa. Fuck.
Wait, say the first part one more time.
You say it. You took French, not me.
Et j'essaie t'appelle papa. I ceased calling you papa.
Very good, Tank. Yeah. Super impressed with you right now. Okay.
Merci.
How do you say you're welcome?
Give me a croissant. De rien.
De rien. If you take Dominique's brother at his word, their upbringing appeared steady and wholesome, marred potentially by an incident from when Dominique was 9, an event that, if it occurred, was nothing short of horrific.
Yeah.
In contrast, Dominique painted a picture of a turbulent relationship with his father, who he described as a source of childhood trauma and a potential progenitor of some of his own troubling traits.
Yeah, and that word progenitor is just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, shout out to the Patreon. This father, his father, reportedly was violent and emotionally abusive and had frequent altercations with Dominique's mother. And he also is said to have abused a young girl that the family had taken in. This is all according to Dominique.
Yes, real quick. Relax your genitors.
Continue. Nice. Apparently, Dominique's father, according to Dominique, also forced him to work from the age of 14 and then would keep 80% of his son's wages.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Dominique further claims that he was coerced into becoming an apprentice electrician after his parents allocated all of their funds to his brother's medical education, leaving nothing for him. This assertion, however, has been challenged by his brother, who characterized Dominique as a mediocre student who barely achieved his trade qualification. Following a stint in real estate, Dominique transitioned to a role as a technical sales agent for fire alarms and computer equipment. And it was during this career change that he crossed paths with Gisèle in 1971. At the time, Gisèle was completely unaware of the darker aspects of Dominique's past and the violent elements of his childhood that would later come to light, if we believe him.
Yeah.
The couple seemed to lead a normal life together for 50 years. Florian, one of Gisèle and Dominique's sons, described Dominique as consistently present and polite and respectful towards women. However, Dominique did conceal some financial troubles from Gisèle and their children. In 2001, following the bankruptcy of his electrical engineering company, Dominique and Gisèle actually got a divorce to shield her from the fallout of his debt.
Wow.
Despite this, they maintained their relationship and their marriage privately and then eventually remarried legally in 2007. So let's return now to 2020 after Dominique was caught in the supermarket upskirting. What followed that shocking incident not only made...
Wait, that was in 2020?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What followed that shocking incident not only made international headlines, but also ignited, as I mentioned, a continuing struggle in France to confront and address the pervasive issue of sexual misconduct against women. The revelations that emerged from this case are forcing a national reckoning with the depths of such abuse and the urgent need for justice.
I think it's so nuts. Like, everyone obviously is on board with the fact that boys will be boys is not going to fly anymore.
Ooh.
But France has this thing too where it's like, hey, French people are they're really sexual, man. They do whatever they want. They're just a bunch of freaks. It's like, well, is it illegal maybe what they're
Is it criminal?
Is it criminal or is it just like kinky?
Right.
You know?
You can be sexually charged up if it's consensual between two adults. If it's anything else,
it's crime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As mentioned earlier, after Dominique was apprehended by the supermarket security guard and arrested, Gisèle initially forgave what she believed to be a solitary lapse in an otherwise unblemished 50-year marriage.
Mm-hmm.
However, her perception of their relationship was shattered, obviously, when the police in Carpentras contacted her, because during their investigation after they arrested him for the upskirting, they uncovered deeply disturbing evidence on Dominique's computer that revealed the true extent of his sickening nature.
Ugh.
And here's what they found. Buckle up. Dominique had a hard drive ominously labeled abuses.
What a fucking asshole.
Criminals are dumb. How many times?
Plus, he's old. He doesn't know how to work technology or whatever.
Oh, that's not exactly true, because listen to this.
Yeah.
So this hard drive, which had which was labeled abuses, contained 20,000 digital videos and photographs documenting the sexual abuse
20,000?
of his wife, yes, Gisèle, over nearly a decade. The files depicted Gisèle drugged, unconscious, and vulnerable, being raped by over 90 strangers, as well as by Dominique himself, spanning from 2011 to 2020.
90 strangers.
Yes.
But repeat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dominique had meticulously cataloged his footage as well, including explicit labels with dates, perpetrators' names, and details of the acts. For instance, a file might be labeled abuse/night of May 26th, 2020 with Mark 5th time. This thorough documentation is what eventually allowed investigators to identify at least 200 distinct crimes perpetrated against Gisèle by 72 different men between July 2011 and October 2020.
Oh, so they found these guys too, obviously.
Not all of them. It took investigators 2 years to track down and locate 50 of the 72 perpetrators, Dominique making 51.
Yeah.
Pop quiz on the heels of that horrific revelation.
Okay.
What repugnant term did Dominique use to describe his role in this appalling rape ring? A, supreme handler. B, puppet master. C, host husband.
A?
No.
C.
Yes. Host husband?
He's dumb.
Oh.
I mean, he's just like, he's fucking, I mean, to have a hard drive label, it should just say crimes, obviously, but it's like a drug dealer walking around with a bag that says drugs. Like,
Right.
How dumb are you?
Yeah, pretty dumb. They would have found it anyway, but he made it that much easier.
Yeah, hubris is what we call it.
Labeling the files with the perpetrators' names, I mean, glad he did it.
Yeah.
But what a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So now we're going to delve into the disturbing details of how Dominique orchestrated nearly 10 years of systematic sexual abuse. But first, I just want to tell you about Gisèle's reaction. This woman, who devoted nearly 5 decades to what she believed was a loving marriage, was absolutely shattered.
I can't even begin.
Absolutely shattered. And I bring this up because she's so stoic and composed in interviews. And then she reminds you that she's shattered. I just think it's important to realize like the human behind this, because she really does put on this incredibly strong, not performance, because she is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
But when she was confronted with the harsh reality that the man she trusted and loved had betrayed her in the most egregious, devastating manner, she was broken.
Usually when stuff like that happens, I think that like a lot of the reason that things don't get reported or they get kind of like delayed, I feel like when stuff like that happens, you feel like you're going to implode, not explode. It's not external. There's no way, you can't even express that level of betrayal.
Yeah.
Externally. It's just like,
caving in on yourself.
Fuck, I wish the world would just open up and swallow me into it immediately. I think that's why people have a hard time, talking about this stuff, because it becomes internalized instantaneously.
Right.
Yeah.
The life she thought she knew was revealed in one single moment to be a facade of manipulation and violence. When Gisèle informed her children of what their father had done, Caroline, their daughter, made a primal whelping noise that sounded like a wounded animal. I've heard her in interviews, and she refers to what happened as a catastrophe. These are normal, wonderful people who were sucker punched by the last person in the world they would have expected to betray them, and on that level. And so publicly, my heart breaks for all of them. In terms of his method, Dominique employed a chillingly calculated approach to recruit his wife's rapists. He frequented a notorious, now defunct, Bulgarian-owned dating site named Coco.gg, registered in the Channel Islands, 27 miles west of Normandy. On this site, Dominique posted in a chat room called Without Her Knowing, which was a well-known stomping ground for unsupervised and illicit activity, including pedophilia, racist rhetoric, and people like Dominique advertising their open door policy for their unconsenting partners and or children who appeared in photographs drugged and barely dressed.
I want to kill them all.
And these fucking dregs of society would operate in this chat room on this website with total and complete impunity. In fact, this site, this hidey hole for fucking perverts to convene and match each other's freaks, has been implicated in over 23,000 French criminal cases from 2021 to 2024.
3 years?
Yes, 23,000 criminal cases this website has been implicated in.
I mean, the owner's certainly going to jail.
It was finally, and I don't know why it took so long, but it was finally dismantled in June of 2024.
Hey, you know what? 8,000 crimes in the first year. Like, it's obviously going to fucking
taper off.
It's going to taper off after that.
I mean.
Another 8,000 crimes at the end of the year? Should we do something?
No.
I don't know. It's New Year's. We'll do it after,
Give it another year.
Get back. It sounds like next year's problem.
I mean, what kind of fucking people get behind this? And scores and scores and scores of people. Like, we talk about this all the time, Anu, right? It's mind-blowing enough to have one person to hear about the off case, the off individual who made some really shitty choices. It's another thing when you are talking tens of thousands of people. What the fuck?
This kind of stuff makes me think the internet should be just dismantled.
Blown up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's be honest, though. These people will find another way.
They will find another way, but not on that scale and not to that magnitude. Like, make it hard for them.
Make it a step harder.
Yeah, make it a little harder.
Exactly. Maybe it will deter one person, and that's one less victim whose life is forever fucking destroyed.
And if that doesn't work, try something else.
Try it all.
Yeah, I know. Doing nothing.
Not an option.
Yeah.
During their investigation into Dominique's digital footprint, authorities uncovered deeply disturbing evidence, alongside explicit and degrading photos of Gisèle, unconscious and wearing lingerie that Dominique would dress her in after she blacked out from the drugs he was pumping into her. They also found messages Dominique had posted and sent to other users on this website. One such message read, quote, "You're like me. You enjoy rape mode." In these communications, he boasted about organizing sex parties and proudly described the potent cocktail of drugs that he concocted to knock out his elderly wife as they continued to chip away at her cognitive abilities and cause her to believe that she was quite literally losing her mind. The men Dominique connected with through this platform have been referred to in France as Mr. Everybody, as they represent a very broad cross-section of French society and just human beings in general, including truck drivers, soldiers, carpenters, construction workers, electricians, a prison guard, a firefighter, a nurse, an IT specialist from a bank, and even a local journalist who was working for a regional newspaper.
Yeah, I'm sure. All kinds.
Ranging in age from 26 to 74, many were married or in relationships, had children or grandchildren, and lived within a few miles of Gisèle. One of her rapists was an actual neighbor who lived within view of her home. These people were everybody and nobody.
Wow.
And here's the thing. We know that there's not one type of victim. There's not one type of human being who is more prone to be victimized, right? I mean, there are people who obviously, sadly, unfortunately, are in more vulnerable situations that make them easier targets. But by and large, all walks of life, unfortunately and scarily, can be victimized. But I think what this case highlights is that there's also no distinct archetype for a rapist either.
No.
Perpetrators can come from all walks of life. Dominique, an elderly man, a married grandfather of 7, a so-called pensioner, that's how they refer to him in France, is probably one of the last people you would expect to be the leader of a massive rape ring victimizing his wife of 50 years.
It's being offered up on a platter. These guys are not going to go out in the street, grab a woman, take her in the alleyway, and rape her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like the amount of porn that was taken in back in the 70s when you had to actually leave your house, go and walk into a bookstore or video store, risk being seen, and then go home. Like, it's obviously the access to it is, it's not the problem. The problem is the condition that drives you to want to do that, but it makes it's baby oil on the slip and slide.
Exactly.
It's like, makes it way too easy.
The easy access that just gives that instantaneous,
Plus the husband is offering it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Which we're going to actually get into because of the fact that he quote unquote offered it.
Yeah.
This is just a shitty way to put it, but we're going to put it this way.
What else would you say?
Well, yes, he offered it, but offering it to me makes it seem like there was actually something to offer. Like, just because he offered it didn't mean it was offerable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm probably being too in the weeds with the language, but that's a little bit my hang up.
Yeah.
To your point, it became complex legally. It's not complex, but the defendants are making it a complex issue because of the fact that it was being offered. I'm using that word. I hate it. I don't know what else to use for this conversation, but let me just finish this thought because as a society, we need to broaden our understanding of who can perpetrate sexual violence and confront the disturbing truth that such crimes can be committed by those least expected. They are not noticeable monsters or outwardly appearing demons. They are flesh and blood. They look like you. They look like me. Recognize.
Yeah.
That's my little PSA.
Anybody.
At Starbucks, they look like the person pumping gas. They look like the person painting your house. They are everyone and no one.
Yeah.
According to investigators, Dominique provided these crap-faced criminals with meticulous instructions before he invited them over to rape his wife. First, they were instructed to park well away from the house to avoid suspicion and to wait up to 1 hour for the sedatives he secretly administered to fully take on effect. Health insurance records showed that Dominique ordered approximately 450 lorazepam pills annually, which he covertly then mixed with Ambien in Gisèle's beverages or put in her food to render her unconscious and facilitate her sexual abuse. The legal term for drugging someone to impair their ability to consent or withhold consent is, you tell me. Pop quiz.
Okay.
A, chemical submission. B, drug-induced compliance. C, pharmacological enslavement.
Say those again.
A, chemical submission.
Chemical submission.
Drug-induced compliance. Pharmacological enslavement.
Wow. A.
Chemical submission?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You are correct. It refers to the intentional use of drugs or chemicals to incapacitate or control a victim without their knowledge or consent.
Yeah.
Under French law, this act is not classified as a distinct criminal offense, but rather falls under the broader categories of sexual violence or rape.
Okay.
Specifically, when drugs are used to subdue someone for sexual purposes, it's just treated as a form of sexual assault or rape.
Just rape.
Now, in France, rape is legally defined as any act of sexual penetration committed on another person through violence, coercion, threat, or surprise. So the issue of chemical submission complicates this definition, as drugging a person impairs their ability to give or withhold consent, thus making it legally a bit tricky in terms of the definition. In other words, this impairment makes it challenging to fit the act within the existing legal framework of consent and violence.
Yeah, no, but...
As a result, I'm going to just... One thing?
Yeah.
Or do you want to...
No, go ahead. Well, I do have something to say.
Well, go ahead.
Do you remember in the United States, I don't remember when it was a while ago, but like not when we were kids. I feel like it was when we were in college, maybe. The term date rape was like created and made to seem like a totally separate class of rape,
yes.
where it was like, lose the date, it's a rape. Just because they were on a date, that makes a rape? Okay. It never, ever made any sense to me.
I agree.
I'm hearing you talk about this different delineation in France with the chemical submission thing.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of that.
There's also a phrase that's used now, which is acquaintance rape. And it's to, I guess, suggest, obviously, that like somebody was raped by somebody that they know. I also hate that.
What is there acquaintance murder?
Does it matter?
Date murder? Oh, she date murdered her? I mean.
Right. Is it somehow less horrific? But as a result of this case that we are covering, and in response to all of these complexities, many, particularly female members of parliament in France, are pushing for legal reforms. Specifically, they want to amend the legal definition of rape and related laws in the French Penal Code to address the issue of chemical submission and ensure that cases like this one are adequately covered under the law and that victims and survivors receive appropriate justice.
Yeah.
Okay, getting back to Dominique's instructions to the rapists.
Yeah.
Once inside the Pelicot marital home, the bitch-ass rapists were then instructed to undress in the kitchen and warm their hands with hot water or on the radiator to avoid the possibility of jolting Gisèle awake. And the reason why they had to get fully naked in the kitchen was because if she started to stir or wake up, he didn't want them having to scramble for their clothing, maybe missing an article of clothing and scampering out and then leaving behind a footprint.
Yeah.
Also, they were strictly forbidden from smoking cigarettes or wearing cologne to prevent leaving any lingering scent on Gisèle's body or in her bed. Condoms were not required. In fact, sometimes Dominique forbade perpetrators from wearing them. Cell phones had to be left in the car lest they ring and wake up Gisèle. And no financial transactions were ever involved.
Really?
Dominique's only requirement was that he be allowed to film the rapes, which sometimes would last up to 6 hours, while he would refer to his wife behind the camera as a slut hundreds and hundreds of times.
Wait, why is he worried about her waking up from a phone ring if he's raping? Like,
why wouldn't she wake up from the forcible penetration?
Yeah.
Right.
But you said in the beginning that she was put into like a coma.
Like a comatose state. Yeah, I don't think it was like an actual coma, but she was drugged enough she, for 10 years, nightly.
10 fucking years.
The perpetrators were then permitted to watch the recording of the rape with Dominique when they were finished with the assault, like some kind of perverse viewing party.
Yeah, circle jerk.
Yeah, basically.
Weird.
Needless to say, law enforcement's discovery of this horrific content on Dominique Pelicot's computer prompted immediate action, and his ass was arrested in November 2020 at the age of 67. Additionally, 50 other men identified in the footage were also apprehended. The majority face charges of aggravated or attempted rape and will stand trial alongside Dominique. And while most are accused of assaulting Gisèle once, a few have been charged with returning as many as 6 times to perpetrate further attacks, including one man who is HIV positive.
I'm not trying to fact check you. I'm just saying. No, don't make that face.
You can fact check me.
The math isn't mathing.
I know. I thought the same thing, because how could there be 20,000 well, first of all, it's also photographs as well.
Yeah.
So photographs of his wife that he took without the perpetrators, but also it also involved video footage of him raping Gisèle.
A lot.
Yes. This happened over nearly a decade.
I know. He drugged her nightly.
Right. And my feeling, and I didn't confirm this, but my feeling is there were multiple rapes a night as well.
No, because it's 3,000.
I know, but I was thinking,
days
yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know. It was him. Like he videotaped himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not going to try and figure this guy out.
Yeah. An aggravated rape charge, by the way, in case you were wondering, I don't know if you were wondering, but it refers to a more severe form of rape that involves additional factors that make the offense a more serious felony with harsher penalties, including longer prison sentences and higher fines.
Yep.
So examples of what may elevate a rape charge to aggravated rape vary by jurisdiction, but generally include one or more of the following: use of force or violence. Now, this doesn't refer to the act of forced sexual violence, which is the definition of rape, but it encompasses instances where the rape involves significant physical violence or severe threats of physical violence like beating, choking, stabbing, things that cause serious physical injury. 2, weapon involvement. 3, victim vulnerability, being incapacitated or physically disabled. Multiple offenders, a child victim, or there being bodily harm so that they suffer serious physical injury during the assault. Following his arrest, Dominique Pelicot immediately confessed to all charges. Additionally, he has been accused of training one of his co-conspirator rapists, Jean-Pierre Maricol, to commit similar acts against his own wife on more than 10 occasions between 2015 and 2020.
Oh my God.
And that's not all, I'm afraid. Because listen to this horrible shit. Beyond the already mentioned unconscionable crimes, Dominique has also been charged with the 1991 rape and murder of a 23-year-old French real estate agent named Sophie Narmet. He denies these offenses, but has admitted to the attempted rape of another real estate agent,
oh my God,
a 19-year-old young woman known as Estella B., also in 1999. Sorry, the other one was 1991. This is 1999.
Okay.
And you know what else came out during this now massive investigation into Dominique Pelicot?
What?
The fact that in 2010, he was arrested for upskirting female customers at a different supermarket just east of Paris and was let off with just a fine at the time.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think that was his first time.
I wouldn't have thought otherwise, to be honest. And Gisèle never knew about that incident.
Yeah.
She has since indicated that had she maybe known about that first incident, it may have served as a warning sign and put sort of his proclivities, if you will, on her radar.
Yeah.
But she never got to see it because all they did was issue him a fine, and that was it.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine how many times he didn't get caught.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
You know?
Terrifying point. The heinous nature of this crime means that 71-year-old Gisèle was initially granted anonymity and the right to a private trial behind closed doors. However, Gisèle believes that remaining anonymous plays into her rapist's desire to keep their crimes hidden and fuck them. So this incredible survivor, this extraordinarily brave woman, has waived her right to anonymity and has instead chosen to become a powerful, prominent public figure in the fight against sexual violence against women.
Oh, yeah.
She walked into that courthouse on the first day through the front door with her head held high because her goal is to transform her profound trauma into a means of shifting power from perpetrators to the victims and survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the trial is open to the public at not just her request, but her insistence, where Gisèle will be testifying for all women, that's what she has said, who have been assaulted while drugged to ensure that no woman suffers this. Pop quiz.
All right.
In France, how many victims of rape go on to press charges? A, 1 out of 10. B, 4 out of 10. C, 6 out of 10.
A?
Yes.
1 out of 10.
Yeah. According to Magali Lafourcade, a magistrate and secretary general of the National Consultative Commission on Human Rights in France, Studies suggest that 9 out of 10 women who are victims of rape do not press charges. And when they do, about 80% of the cases are dropped.
Fuck.
Gisèle's entire life changed after she was presented with the footage of her multiple chemical submissions and rapes.
She saw the videos?
She did. In a statement to the public, she indicated that she barely recognized herself in those videos as a motionless, listless shell, saying, quote, "I was sacrificed on the altar of vice. They regarded me like a rag doll, like a garbage bag. When you see that woman drugged, mistreated, a dead person on a bed, of course the body is not cold, it's warm, but it's as if I'm dead."
Mm-hmm.
She also went on to tell a panel of 5 judges in court that rape was not a strong enough word. It was torture. And what she watched were scenes of horror and barbarity. Interestingly, on the subject of language with respect to using the term rape, Gisèle was instructed by a judge that to respect the presumption of innocence, the court had agreed to avoid using the term rape. Instead, the term, listen to this, sex scene is being used. In response to that, Gisèle said, and this is another quote, "I just think they should recognize the facts. When I think of what they've done to me, I'm overcome with disgust. They should at least have the responsibility to recognize what they did."
Yeah, it's not a fucking movie.
No, it isn't. I understand the whole presumption of innocence. This isn't the way to do it.
No.
But incredibly, many of the accused are not only evading responsibility for their actions, but they're also attempting to entirely shift the blame onto Dominique, claiming that they were manipulated into complicity. They claim that they had no idea that Gisèle had not consented and that they thought she was pretending to be asleep to fulfill her husband's fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the attorneys representing 6 of the rapists made an absolutely absurd statement saying, "Without intention, there is no rape."
I don't know about that.
No. Of course, Gisèle vehemently rejects these ridiculous claims and has stated, "These men entered my home and adhered to the protocols set by Dominique. They did not rape me under duress. They did so knowingly and deliberately."
Yeah.
She further questioned their lack of moral courage, asking, "Why didn't they go to the police? Even an anonymous tip could have spared me from this torment."
Yeah.
One of the most troubling defenses that I encountered in my research is the argument presented by some of the defendant's attorneys that Gisèle's husband's consent was deemed sufficient for their client's actions. I can only fucking laugh. It's so ridiculous. In response to that, Professor Laurence Parisot, who's a French expert in sexual violence and consent laws and represents Gisèle and her family, told the New York Times, quote, "If this is the standard of consent in sexual matters in 2024, we have a significant amount of work to do."
Yeah.
You think? And correctly, Gisèle maintains that the perpetrator's attempt to portray themselves as victims is a disingenuous defense. She emphasizes that they were fully aware of their actions and had opportunities to report the crimes, yet chose not to.
Yep.
Which really is absolutely fucking mind-blowing that scores of men actually participated in this, and some of them many times over.
Yeah, but I will tell you why they didn't report it.
Because they can implicate themselves.
Yeah, they're on video.
Of course.
Yeah.
They went online, they connected with Dominique, they made the decision to follow his protocol and to forcibly penetrate an unconscious woman.
Crazy.
Additionally, adding insult to injury, 5 of the 50 perpetrators were also found to have had images of child pornography or child sex abuse on their cell phones. If convicted of the charges against them relating to Gisèle's rapes, all of the defendants are facing up to 20 years in prison.
Oh, they're going to be in bad shape in prison, too.
Oh, yeah. Dominique Pelicot's trial began on Monday, September 2nd, 2024.
Really?
The same month and year as this recording.
Oh.
This was hot off the press. He kept his gaze on the floor and sat apart from the other accused men, and the second defendant's box had to be built in the courtroom to contain them all.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
The court proceedings will continue until December of this year, again 2024, and will feature testimony from psychologists, psychiatrists, computer experts, Gisèle and Gisèle's adult children.
I'll be looking for Gisèle's impact statement.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to this, though. So Caroline, who's Gisèle's 45-year-old daughter, has already testified that Dominique was the greatest sexual predator of the last 20 years. She recounted her trauma not only from her mother's abuse, but also fear from her own personal abuse. Because, and get this, also discovered on her father's hard drive, in addition to the thousands of images of her unconscious mother being sexually abused, was a folder titled Around My Daughter Naked. And this file contained 2 images of Caroline, naked and asleep with the covers off and the lights on in her home bedroom. Prosecutors have not charged Dominique with drugging or sexually abusing Caroline, but he has been charged with violating her privacy by taking, recording, or transmitting a sexual image of her without her knowledge. Yeah. There's such a powerful quote from Caroline's book that captures the impact of the upheaval on her life that this has had. So she was reflecting on how her life was once ordinary and stable, but has now been forever altered by these horrific events, and how everyday moments have been taken away. And she said, and this is obviously a translation, quote, "Nobody measures the price of the mundane until it's lost." And that got me. And the depths of Dominique's depravity just keep going, because he faces additional charges related to the invasion of privacy of his daughter-in-law, Celine, and former daughter-in-law, Aurora, whom he also secretly photographed and filmed inside their homes. Some of the photos were taken from inside the bathrooms in their homes, where they were often naked. And when did Dominique begin filming his daughters-in-law? When one of them was pregnant with his grandchild. A video discovered on Dominique's computer showed him aggressively masturbating while fixating on a naked image of his daughter-in-law displayed on the computer screen in front of him. Both Celine and Aurora testified that they felt degraded and humiliated and were worried that Dominique might have disseminated their photos online. Celine went on to explain how she is rarely able to sleep more than 2 or 3 hours a night now, and that she's been losing her hair out of fear and stress. Dominique Pelicot appeared in court for precisely 2 minutes on Monday, September 9th. This was all the time it took for his attorney, Beatrice Zavaro, to mention her client's intestinal difficulties and possible urinary tract infection, and to get the presiding judge, Roger Arata, to excuse Dominique from attending the hearings that day, which would be entirely focused on him and his psychological analyses. And while her request was granted...
Really?
So
why?
Dominique didn't have to, because he was ill.
He had a bellyache?
He had a bellyache. The trial still went on in his absence. I feel like they should have waited, because...
I feel like they should have just said, no, stop being a little bitch,
right,
and just fucking sit and take your medicine.
It's like Lucy Leppy.
Sorry.
They let her skirt being in court when the victim impact statements were read.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it was on that day, though, when a personality analyst, an expert psychologist, and 2 psychiatrists took turns dissecting the background and profile of Dominique Pelicot, whose reactions to certain statements made on the stand would have been welcome.
Yeah.
Psychologist Marianne Dutoit has described Dominique as a quick-tempered individual whose volatile demeanor instills fear reminiscent of his own father,
really,
whom he harbors deep resentment towards. She noted that Dominique's sexual behavior reflects his underlying character traits. Outwardly, he presents as conventional, yet he is driven by disturbing sexual urges. This contrast became evident through his wife's rejection of swinging and Dominique's subsequent involvement in pornographic chat websites, which revealed the darker, obviously more troubling aspects of his sexuality. Another psychologist, Annabelle Montagna, described Dominique as self-centered and as someone who regards others merely as instruments for his manipulation.
Yeah.
She also highlighted that Dominique's drugging and abuse of his listless wife could be linked to necrophiliac fantasies, and that voyeurism was a key component of his psychosexual dynamics, and that checks out. She suggested that an alleged traumatic incident in his past, such as possibly being sexually assaulted by a nurse at the age of 9, as well as another incident in which he alleges to have participated in a group sexual assault against a woman when he was 14, might have triggered a psychological split reminiscent of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde phenomenon, a theory that aligns with other experts' observations of his divided personality.
Yeah.
In contrast, other experts testified that Dominique exhibited no salient personality traits, indicating that he appeared unremarkable or lacking in distinctive characteristics. So they observed that he maintained a correct relationship with reality, showed no mental pathology, and had no psychiatric antecedents, suggesting that he did not display overt symptoms of mental illness or psychological disorders. This case has ignited a storm in France and shines a spotlight on the nation's ongoing struggle with addressing sexual misconduct. This upheaval comes at a time when the Me Too movement in France, previously stalled in the film industry, has gained new traction, highlighting a shift, obviously, in societal attitudes. As a journalist, Agnes Poirier noted to the BBC, quote, French attitudes towards morality and sex have historically differed from those in the U.S., but the current climate of 2024 seems poised for a significant change.
Yeah, maybe they didn't actually differ. Maybe they were just told that they should believe they differ.
Maybe. And there's just no more room for that now. One of the most inspiring symbols of resilience and transformation is Gisèle herself. Having severed ties with her abuser, now distanced and referred only as Monsieur Pelicot. That's how she refers to him now.
Monsieur.
What did I say?
Monsieur.
Oh, okay.
Monsieur.
She has reclaimed her identity by changing her surname. Gisèle's courage in the face of such unspeakable adversity speaks volumes. Her strength not only enables her to rebuild her own life, but also to champion positive change for other survivors. Just this past weekend, thousands of people gathered in Paris and other cities across France in support of this 72-year-old warrior, chanting, "We are all Gisèle, and the shame must change sides."
Wow.
By sharing her story, Gisèle is helping to illuminate the path towards justice and healing, advocating for reforms that will protect and empower those who have endured similar suffering. She may have encountered many defeats over the course of a decade, but she will not be defeated.
Amen.
And that's the case.
Very good. Like, fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you.
Horrible.
Can't say thank you. I don't know what to say. But yeah, horrible case happening basically in real time. The trial's still happening, so I'll keep everybody updated.
Yeah.
10 years of ongoing rape, drugging your wife, and then watching her in her more lucid moments throughout the day.
Yeah.
Thinking that she has Alzheimer's disease. How do you let this happen?
Oh, man. I mean,
he facilitated it. He did more than let it happen.
Yeah, he caused it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is just to
he has to be a sadist, by the way.
He's also past, like, so there's levels. There's addicted to porn, frequenting sex workers, different, like, not really socially acceptable behavior, but not like mentally deviant. And then, like I said, from there is voyeurism, exhibitionism, blah, blah, blah. And then there's rape, which child abuse falls under because it's always rape. But that's like the highest point. He was like combining fucking levels from, like, he was making porn for himself.
Yep.
I mean, there's just, it was
harming and humiliating his wife on a regular basis, not selling her. There was no financial transaction, but again, that word pops up, offering, serving. It defies articulation and comprehension. It is just so absolutely horrific.
I've never heard of anything like this.
I know. I don't think,
Crazy.
I mean, it really is going down as like a record-breaking, horrific, sexually violent case.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be literally anybody at any time.
Yep.
Which is not to scare people, but just to say, like, just be cautious.
It is not to scare anybody, of course not, but it is to raise awareness.
Yeah, you need to know what's going on.
It is to raise awareness, exactly. Yeah. That's the case, but I was wondering if you have a Tank's tidbit that we could leave off on.
The word bloviate is absolutely my favorite word right now.
I've never even heard of it.
It just means like blah, 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 going on and on and on.
Oh, is that where blah? It's blah, 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 an abbreviation?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think that was like an absolutely brilliant correlation.
Yeah. Then it was. Then it is. Yeah. Okay. This one is kind of a little long, but it's not going to be long. I'm going to make it short, and it is a little controversial, but I don't care. There's this whole thing that has been going around for a while. You might disagree, but maybe not.
I'm going to lean back for this one.
Hard times make strong men. Strong men make easy times. Easy times make weak men. Weak men make bad times.
Did you get that from Firefighter Dave?
No, it's Joe Rogan. I call bullshit on the whole entire thing.
Okay.
Because the assumption that the reason he started saying that now, now I'm realizing it, it's just another one of those kids these days things. Joe Rogan had a very, very tough upbringing. A lot of violence. He was, kind of like not neglected, but like he grew up in a weird environment at home and where he was. He specifically came up in a hard time, which made him a strong man, let's say. There's plenty of fucking people today going through hard times. I'm just not to just like disregard this young generation as like a waste of life.
Is that what that quote
100%
is intending to do?
It's meant to prop him up, or it's meant to prop older people up and like diminish younger people, and to say that like these kids today they're so weak, and that is the weakness a little bit more apparent and weird and different shapes than it used to be? Maybe. Like maybe it was somebody who was quiet in the past is now whatever that equivalent is. I don't even know. But like there's plenty of people going through hard times who are going to wind up to be strong people when they grow up. Mm-hmm. So just stop diminishing people. I just don't like things that like prop up one group of people and shit on another. I can't stand it.
I don't like blanket statements in general.
Yeah, me either.
Like I really don't. That's why, respectfully, I really hate this people do the best they can with the tools they have. It's a blanket statement. I don't think that's always true.
Yeah, there's exceptions.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Titty. I have heard of that before. I didn't realize that it was Joe Rogan, and I didn't realize that he was...
No, he didn't make it up.
Oh. Well,
he just popularized it.
Right, and I didn't realize it was in an effort to sort of like kids these days.
It's just another kids these days, which I realized as I was saying it, but...
Man, you really...
I can't fucking stand it. I really can't stand it.
I know.
In the episode also that I listened to for Unhinged, I talk about the hell in a handbasket phrase. And just like...
Yeah, I remember that.
How slow is it going? That phrase is like 150 years old. They've been saying the end is nigh since they said nigh. That's like the 1400s. But yeah, like it's not going to hell in a handbasket. You are. Your whole personality and attitude is you suck.
Who's you?
The person who thinks that the world is getting worse.
Okay.
Because they're picking out worse things to look at because they're frustrated and tired and exhausted and maybe a little bitter, which is all totally normal, which is why it's so important to look for the good in life. But yeah, just, the whole hell in a handbasket, end is nigh, kids these days, I just think it's such a lazy way to think.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Do you agree or no? Or do you think kids these days suck?
I don't think kids these days suck.
Or they're weak or specifically uniquely unqualified or entitled or lazy.
I think society in general is different. I really do.
Yes.
But I think that wherever society was 50 years ago, the kids were where they are in today's society.
Mentally.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that it presents differently because we have different shit going on.
Yeah.
But I think that a kid is a kid.
Yes.
So yes.
You think my dad's mom wasn't going, God damn it, you're watching those Westerns always so stupid, these, cowboys and Indian shows.
Right. But the exposure is so much higher and extreme. You know what I mean? Like what we were saying earlier.
Oh my God. First of all, no, it's not. Second of all.
The internet? Yes, it is.
Yes. But we're watching Fallout right now. It's like a nuclear fallout show it's based on a video game, but it's a very good show. They use all old songs. I couldn't believe what I was hearing when I heard it. There's a song that they put in there called It Ain't the Meat, It's the Movement. And I looked it up. It's from 1951. It's obviously about fucking.
Uh-huh.
And man, like that's the WAP of those days. Don't tell me things are changing. They're not. They're always the same. You don't think...
it's just way more maybe graphic now, or you know what I mean? Like that.
It ain't the meat, it's the motion.
Oh, come on. WAP is a lot worse. A lot worse.
Yes, maybe.
A lot more graphic, a lot longer. Come on. There are levels.
Longer? How do you know how long the song is that I'm talking about?
Is it a song? I thought it was like a quote.
No, it's a song.
Oh.
It's like a song that was put out.
Jeez.
It ain't the meat, it's the motion.
Stop it.
He's talking about rockin' daddy. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, they've thought the world was ending since it started, probably.
It is.
It's like me with the memes. I'm like, memes are probably almost done.
It is.
10 years later.
Right.
Not done. Podcasts are done. They're too saturated. You can't do a podcast. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm here. I'm here as fuck. So anyway, yeah, that's it. My tidbit was a little bit of a rant, but I appreciate you indulging me.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress before I be perceived as bloviating.
Right. You definitely bloviated
I'm a beluga, baby. I'm a beluga. Bloviating beluga.
Blah, blah, blah.
All right. As my fucking lungs implode.
Yeah, you don't sound good, man.
Yeah.
I hear you wheezing.
Thank you all for listening so much. Thanks you for making it to the end of these podcasts. I got another message or a comment from somebody who's like, I'm one of the mentally ill people. So like, shout out to you, Charles Entertainment Cheese. And thank you for listening.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.